Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the FSI PGA DFS Pick Show. I am your host at JohnCool19 on Twitter, aka John McNutt, talking Sanderson Farms Championship. Last week was kind of fun watching the President's Cup, Go Team USA. But buckle up, it is time for 8 straight weeks of swing season. Let's jump right into it, talking about the course this week. This is the Country Club of Jackson in Jackson, Mississippi, 7,400-yard course, par 72. It's kind of a similar setup as we saw 2 weeks ago at the Fortinet Championship. A lot of golfers are just going to be bombing and gouging, I would assume, this week. That is how Sam Burns won last year. These are Bermuda grass greens, so we'll certainly take that into consideration in our modeling. Our key stats that we're looking at, ball striking this week being the top stat on most weeks, really kind of leaning a bit more towards approach, and then getting my off the tee numbers on drive distance. The distance absolutely helps this week. I'm also including good drives gained. The rough is not very penal here at the Country Club of Jackson. So a lot of golfers, again, they're just going to hit it as far as they can and then look at something like a 100 to 150 yards in with their wedges and just play from there, whether they're in the fairway or not. You'll see some golfers that have popped here previously that are not super long off the tee. So obviously approach happens to be very important as well. So golfers who can just put it right next to the flag here absolutely have a good chance also. But I'm including that Bermuda grass greens putting, absolutely essential. Last thing I'm going to put at the top of my modeling is par 5 scoring. You just absolutely need to score on these par 5s. There are 4 of them. They are very, very gettable. Going to see a ton of birdies on those holes. And in general, this is a birdie fest. We expect the winner to be probably around a 20 under. Might be just a little bit tougher than that. The weather there has been dry as of late. Expect the greens to be drier than they have been previously. So maybe just a little bump in the difficulty this year versus previous years. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if the winner is 19, 20, 21 under par for the week, and a cut maybe somewhere around the 1 under, 2 under mark after 2 days. So that's what we're looking at as far as modeling. Let's jump into some of my favorite picks this week. Right at the top of the scoring here, Sam Burns is going to be an absolute favorite on DraftKings. But for me, top of my modeling, that is Russell Henley. He is only 10,100 on DraftKings, coming in at about 22 to 1 on the DraftKings outright market. He has made 7 of his last 10 cuts. The form's pretty good there. He has 2 top 10s in his last 4 events. That includes the Rocket Mortgage and at the Wyndham as well. Pretty good course history here as well. He finished 54th back in 2019, but then he was 14th in 2016. Those are his only 2 tries here at the Sanderson Farms. But really the modeling centers around what he is best at. That is approach, tee to green, good drives gained, ball striking, all of those. He is top 5 in my modeling. He also comes in top 5 greens in regulation and second birdies or better in this field. So there's a lot to like about Russell Henley. I don't think he's going to be quite as popular as Sam Burns, but he absolutely will be highly owned on DraftKings. If you're going to put him in your line, if you're playing 20 max, you definitely want to load up on him. Something like 30% of your line should probably have Russell Henley if you're playing him this week. But I think that is a great option as far as your tournament lineups go. Single entry, fire away on Russell Henley. I think just with his pricing too, he's about at the very highest end I would pay as far as in a cash lineup. I rarely go over 10K, but I might end up right at Russell Henley for my cash lineup this week. But let's talk about Sam Burns here. He did win this event last year. He's priced reasonable, 10-7 on DraftKings. That's certainly cheaper than we see a lot of favorites at events. In this swing season, there's sometimes only 1 or 2 really, really good golfers. Sam Burns is that guy this week. He absolutely deserves to be the betting favorite. Won here last year. He's about 11 to 1 odds in the outright market. He has made 7 of his last 8 in cut events. Top 20 in 2 out of the 3 playoff events as well. So super, super good finish for Sam Burns to end last tournament season. His course history here is really good also. Obviously, he had the win last year. He was 3rd back in 2018. He's played it 5 total times. 4 of those he made the cut. So there's a lot to like there. But the modeling even better than that. He's number 1 in that par 5 scoring I talked about. fifth on approach. And also, he's really, really good on Bermuda grass greens. In this field, he falls fourth for long-term Bermuda grass putting. He's number one if you find fine tune that down to fast Bermuda grass greens. So a lot to like there. Number one birdies or better as well. Him and Russell Henley, the top two birdie makers in this field. I like them both a ton this week, but he's probably coming in more like 20, 22, 25% ownership on DraftKings. So if you're wanting to put him into your 20 max, you're probably going to want to play more like 40 to 50% of your lineups with Sam Burns. That's a little bit tougher pill to swallow for me, but Sam Burns worth it. 2 weeks ago at the Fortinet, we talked about the number one golfer was Max Homa. He was the reigning champion at that event, and he went out and smoked the field. And so Sam Burns, I could easily see doing that. If I had to pick one or the other, give me Russell Henley this week. 600 discount on DraftKings, and I think just as good a chance to win, or almost as good a chance as Sam Burns. But let's talk about some guys that are a little bit cheaper and some pivots that also will help you to round out your DraftKings lineups. I like Alex Smalley a lot this week. He's 7,500 on DraftKings, 60 to 1 outright winner. He was 43rd place at the Fortinet. Don't love that, but I think it certainly shows that he's in decent form to start this season. He made the cut in 3 out of the last 4 events before the playoffs. All of those were top 20 finishes. So very, very, very good finish to the season for Alex Smalley. He was 31st on this course in 2021. And then in my modeling, he comes in 10th on approach, 16th tee to green, 11th ball striking, and 29th in distance. I also like to run a comp course model to look at some similar courses. He comes in 13th in that modeling also. So although he's only played here once, the other courses that are very similar, he has had great results there as well. One knock I have for Alex Smalley, that is he's going to be very, very popular. I could see him absolutely coming in somewhere in the range of 15, 18%, maybe as much as 20% in some GPPs. Although he is very good and I absolutely like him this week, that is a little bit tougher to get into your GPP lineups. I'm thinking he is an excellent cash option this week, and we'll see how his ownership kind of shakes out Wednesday and see how much we love him then to decide on GPP. Also, this course tends to get quite windy. I'm going to be very, very curious how the wind looks come Wednesday evening. As of right now, the details kind of for Thursday are it's pretty even, but very windy all day, very gusty, I should say, all day on Thursday. Not much details for Friday, so we'll kind of see as we get into Wednesday what that looks like. Alex Smalley be one of those guys I'll absolutely be looking to hammer if I can, and especially if I can get him in the nice weather wave. Last thing I want to talk about here tonight is some low-owned pivots. For your GPP lineups, you absolutely need to get in some guys that are a bit lower owned. You cannot just jam in all of the chalk guys, especially down in the 7K range. It looks like there's a handful of golfers that are going to be much higher owned than the rest. So I'm just kind of looking at some guys that you can certainly pivot off of that chalk, starting up really up at the top here, and that's Keegan Bradley. Of all the golfers over 9K, all of them look like they're going to get double-digit ownership on DraftKings, with the exception of 2. One of them is Keegan Bradley. The other one, Christian Bezadenhout. I don't think he has nearly the pedigree that Keegan Bradley does. Keegan Bradley ranks 10th overall in my modeling. He's really, really good tee to green. And he has 1 top 5 and 1 missed cut at this course. So the history is just fine for me there. If you look at even Sam Burns, he's missed a cut here before. So I'm okay with a missed cut, but a top 5 also for Keegan Bradley shows he really he likes this course a lot. Another guy I'm going to be looking at in GPP lineups as a good pivot, and that's Dean Burmester. He is certainly a guy that if you play Euro Tour golf, you're a bit more familiar with him. He came through the Korn Ferry this year, although he really just had to play the end of season events in order to qualify for the PGA Tour. I'm thinking he's going to come in around 6% ownership this week. That's going to be something like half or even a third of what Alex Smalley is going to be, and right about the same price for the 2 of these golfers. We don't have tons of stats on him, but if you look back at what he did do last season, he was very good on the DP World Tour. He also played a few PGA events that included 11th at the Open Championship, 10th at the Scottish Open, And then that Korn Ferry Tour Championship, he finished 5th. He's very good at putting on Bermuda grass greens, also a long driver of the ball. I think Dean has a great chance to perform very well this week for you at low ownership. Another guy you're probably a bit more familiar with, that is Luke List. He is our favorite can't putt golfer. He's only 7,300 on DraftKings this week. I like that a lot. It's because the form kind of stinks for Luke List. As you know, he is excellent tee to green. I have him ranked second in this field, tee to green, second on approach as well. Problem is he can't putt, but if you look at his history, he has had a couple times where he putted better than the average for the event, and both of those times he had very good results. So I like that a lot. He's also 6th drive distance in this field. I think there's a lot to like about Luke List. Again, it all comes down to whether or not he can putt. He is a golfer you do not want to watch the shot tracker on Thursday and Friday. It'll be absolutely miserable whenever he lines up for 5-8 foot putts. You almost assume he's going to miss, and that's just a terrible feeling. You're better off not watching shot tracker on Luke List. Just watch to see if he's making birdies or not by the end of the round. But I do think Luke List has a great chance this week, and I will absolutely be on him. Maybe around 6% ownership, just the same as Burmster. And that's looking like half the ownership of a couple other guys that'll be much chalkier in this range. Adam Svensson, very, very popular this week. And Jaeger is a golfer that doesn't get much traction very often, but for whatever reason, this week people are hammering him. He rates out well in my model. I do like that. I do not like paying 15% or so for Jaeger. That is just a bad choice. That is bad chalk here, in my opinion, down in the 7K range. Give me Luke List instead. He absolutely has the upside to go out and finish top 5 or better in this event. I don't think the same about Jaeger this week. So that is my thoughts on some good pivots. That's about it for this week. Certainly excited to get back into the swing season. A bunch of exciting events coming up, and really looking forward to how the rest of this 2022 swing season rounds out. You can get all of our core plays as well as a player pool, thoughts on weather, all that sort of stuff will be in our Discord. The link for that can be found on our Twitter handle, that is at FSI_DFS, or on our website, FSIDFS.com. Again, I'm John McNutt. You can find me on Twitter at JohnCole19. Thanks for watching. And on this YouTube video, please leave comments, questions, anything you have below. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, help you out, get you going in the right direction this week. All right, good luck, green screens.